Before I even left the ground, I knew this wasn't about me. Not about glory, not about summits. It was about showing up. It was about goals and seeing what I was made of. But here's the part I didn't see coming. The real strength I would need for this journey wouldn't come from inside me. It would come from the people beside me. You see, life is full of crossroads, moments that whisper, "What now?" After raising 3 amazing kids, Shannon, Lauren, and Luke, with my wife Shelly, after the back surgery that left me wondering what was next. I found myself watching Everest documentaries well into the morning, over and over. Something in that mountain called to me. It wasn't about ticking off a bucket list. It was about discovering who I was meant to be in the next chapter. Could I use my gifts, my work ethic, my faith to inspire others? Could I still push myself? It turns out the mountain was never the goal. Being the man willing to face it, that was. I trained, I researched, I asked questions, I stayed curious, until one day I mentioned the idea to my brother-in-law, Steve. And just like that, the game was on. This was bigger than a climb. This was going to be a journey about courage, about surrender, and about the people who walk beside you when the air gets thin. We landed in Kathmandu, Nepal. And right away, it hit me. This place had its own rhythm. Buses tangled with bikes, laughter mixed with prayer, life pulsing through every crack in the pavement. Then a chopper up into the clouds. Lukla. That's not just an airport, it's a line in the sand. The place where the world you know ends. And Mount Everest begins. From there we walked, day after day, step after step, through frost-bitten trails and villages built on stone and stubbornness. The air got thinner, but the purpose got thicker. We weren't alone. We were surrounded by people who've been walking this path long before we could pronounce Everest. The Sherpas. They didn't speak much. They really didn't need to. They were the quiet heartbeat of the mountain, carrying gear, cooking meals, crossing deep crevices like it was nothing. And not once did they ask for thanks. They just showed up again and again with a smile, a nod, and this powerful humility that wrapped around you like warmth in the cold. One day, we passed the memorial site. Names carved into stone, young, old, fathers, guides, dreamers, all gone, but all still here. I looked at those stones and thought, they didn't die chasing fame. They died chasing something real. And suddenly, this climb wasn't about a photo at the top. It was about respecting the ones who never made it back. Before we even clipped into the ropes, the Sherpas called us together. No speeches, no fanfare, just fruit, fire, prayers whispered into the wind. They didn't demand respect from Mount Everest. They asked for permission. And for the first time, I understood. This mountain is not a challenge, it's a relationship. And relationships require humility. One morning, Everest reminded us who was the boss. The sound was like thunder splitting the sky, an avalanche on a neighboring face. Most of us froze, but the Sherpas, they didn't flinch. They didn't just know the mountain, they understood it. They listened to it like it was breathing. And I realized strength isn't always loud. Sometimes strength is a stillness that doesn't crack under pressure. Then came the Kumba icefall. A frozen river of chaos. Blocks the size of huge buildings shifting beneath your feet. Every step is a gamble. Every breath is a negotiation. This isn't climbing, this is surviving. But through all of it, I was roped to someone who didn't blink. And Dorji, my Sherpa, my shadow. He walked behind me, beside me, ahead of me, whatever I needed. He said very little, but when it was time to move, I moved. Because when someone's put their life into keeping you alive, you listen. But the mountain doesn't just test your body, it messes with your mind. I lost my appetite. The altitude hit me harder than I expected. A medication I started taking back when I landed in Kathmandu, it eventually wiped me out. My strength left me like air from a punctured balloon. And the worst part, you start thinking, maybe this was a mistake. Maybe I'm not built for this. But Dorji didn't say any of that. He made me tea. He sat with me, sometimes in total silence. And when I couldn't carry strength, he carried belief in me that I could. I thought a rest day would fix it. But the truth was, something deeper was breaking. I wasn't just tired, I was done. I could no longer eat. I barely slept. And every step I imagined past this tent kind of felt like it might be my last. Before I said a word, Dorji knew. He didn't argue. He never guilted me. He just looked at me steady and nodded, like he was saying, this isn't quitting, this is choosing to live. We called for the rescue. It didn't feel heroic, it felt hollow. But you know, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to stop. Not because you're weak, but because you know your limits and you respect the life you've been given. Then came one of those moments you never forget. We were walking toward the helicopter, a little off the main trail, in an unstable stretch of snow, and all of a sudden, I felt the ground vanish. No warning. 1 second I was upright, the next I was sinking, chest deep in a hidden crevice, the kind you don't come back from. But Ange was holding my arm, and without flinching, he yanked me up. Another Sherpa appeared out of nowhere, helping to pull me free. No drama, really no panic, just a quiet rescue like they'd done it 100 times before. That's when it hit me. These men don't just carry packs, they carry lives. I didn't reach the summit of Mount Everest, but that mountain gave me something greater: perspective. I left with stories, yes, but also with something I'll never shake: the feeling of being lifted by someone who didn't have to. Here's what I learned. You don't have to wear a harness to be climbing something. We all have our Mount Everest. A fear, maybe a loss, maybe a goal so big it scares us into staying small. But here's the thing, you are never alone. Your Sherpa might be your coach, your teacher, your best friend, or your kid who believes in you more than you believe in yourself. Ask for help, and just as important, be someone else's Ange. Because if more of us showed up with open hands and quiet strength, maybe the world would look a little more like the top of Mount Everest. Still, sacred, yet full of hope.
You see, we don't climb to stand above others. We climb to stand beside them.
So when your mountain comes, climb with courage. And remember, we all have Sherpas, and also we can all be one.